Energies.
At gayon, ang pinakahihintay ng buong bayang Pilipinas, nagkatotoo na rin ang pinapangarap ng rekonsilyasyon na kay tagal nang hinihintay ng buong bayan. At ang rekonsilyasyon na to ay dyan magaganap dito mismo sa RPN The Network sa pinakamalakas na programang actually yun na, mga kababayan. Dito lang pwede magtagpo ang silangan at kanluran, ang langit at lupa, ang buwan at araw, ang Romualdez, ang Juanco, Marcos, Aquino at Ignacio. Walang iba kundi si Congressman Bongbong Marcos. Tumayo po tayo lahat at magpugay. Congressman!
Isa tumayo. Hello po. Welcome to Actually Unite. Thank you very much at pinaunlakan mo kami.
No, not at all. It was a pleasure. Nung dumating yung paanyaya sa akin, di sabi ko, bakit hindi? Sa wakas.
Oo naman, at magkumparit-kumare tayo.
Ama yun,
Meron
ama.
kaming inaanak, yung anak ko ng isang mayor from Isabela, si Mayor Bodji D. How are you?
I am fine, thank you very much. I've been a little busy, but...
I commented kanina na you lost a lot of weight. Is it because of your health club? Hindi.
Well, I try to keep a health regimen. Talagang natutunan ko yun sa ama ko is to try and exercise. Lalo na pagka nangangampanya ka o nasa labas ka, it's very important, you know, because you have to keep going, you don't eat at the right time, di ka natutulog. So, those things have to be maintained.
Speaking of your father, what was President Marcos like as a father growing up? Kasi how old were you when he was elected, Bale? Bilang presidente?
Yung unang birthday ko sa palasyo was 8.
8 years old.
Oh.
So, actually, all of your teenage years,
All of my teenage years and
including your 20s.
most of my 20s,
Oo.
yeah, mga 28 na kami nung umalis. So that was a long, long time. Yeah, in the
Was he a
palace.
disciplinarian?
Well, hindi naman sa disciplinarian in the sense that he would make very clear kung anong hinahanap niya sa inyo, what he expects from you. And he would make it very clear if you did not live up to the standards that he put, that medyo masama ang loob niya sa'yo. In terms of actual pure discipline, yung pumapalo or something like that, hindi naman gano.
Ang mommy mo,
Mami ko, mas lalong
Yes.
hindi. Masyadong mabait yun. She cannot even, she would just, siguro pag hindi na niya matiis yung frustration niya, iiyak na lang yun. Pero in terms of actual beating, as the
Yes.
English call it, I was beaten more in my school in England than I ever was by my parents.
but when you were studying here, nasa Lasal ka, di ba?
Lasal Green Hills, yes.
How was it? Was it a problem dahil marami kang bodyguards? Were the other boys medyo aloof ba sila sa'yo?
Well, I'm sure nadaanan mo rin yun. Of course.
Hindi, pero
kahit-
ako high school na, so medyo
sabagay.
iba na yung ano nun.
Kasi kung bata naman, yung mga ganong edad, hindi pa masyadong naiisip. Natutuwa lang sila. May mga baril ba yan? May mga yan lang naman ang tinatanong. But madaling makalimutan yan. Basta't mga bata, nakikita mo, magsasama-sama, maglalaro yan. So it wasn't really a problem. And when it would have been a problem in high school, I had already left. So I was in England. Hindi na masyado yung security nakikita.
Nung when you were growing up, did you have children's parties sa Malacanang?
Oh, madalas. In fact, yung mga children's parties namin, yung mga party namin mga magkakapatid, doon na ginagawa sa palasyo because we would invite a lot of people. They would have performers and things like that. We'd have great parties in the palace.
All your life kasi, Bale, both parents are very active in politics. Do you think that is what has led you to go into this kind of life?
Oh, hindi mo maiiwasan. There is no way. The only way you can explain my having entered politics is definitely because of how my father really that he even said it in his when he was still alive that he would say, I have committed not only myself to the work that I have done. I have not committed only my person, but my wife and my family too. And the time will come when you will find that you have no choice. Not to enter politics, but perhaps in the positions, in the kind of causes that we would champion. So, matagal na talagang alam na namin na kahit papano, yung ginawa ng aming ama will affect us for the rest of our lives, in whatever fashion. So, and it's turning out to be true because how can something that dominant be suddenly just go away? So kahit na ngayon ilang taon na ito, we're still feeling the effects of what my father did. And I have no doubt, to the day I die, I will be feeling those effects.
You're the middle child ba?
I am the middle child, yes.
How is it? Kasi ako youngest so medyo nabe-baby talaga ako. Ikaw middle child, only boy pa.
Siguro, I don't know. It never felt like...
Dominating bang ate si Aimee? Hindi naman.
Ate. She was a proper ate. Tinuturuan kami. Halimbawa, nung bata pa kami, nung una kaming dumating lalo sa England dahil hindi kami
Bakit kayo
marunong.
pinadala sa England?
Mostly security.
Yes.
Madami kaming problema sa security dahil ako, maraming
Anong
mga
year
kidnap
na when you
threat.
went to England,
I
Vale?
left for England in 1969. My first, no, 70. 70 was my first year there.
And then, you stayed there until when?
I stayed there for almost 10 years until until I left for University of Philadelphia of Pennsylvania.
Nag-Wharton ka,
Yeah,
diba?
that's when I went to Wharton. Yeah.
Do you feel na those 10 years helped you a lot? Kasi at least, medyo ordinaryo kang citizen.
Malaking bagay dahil in fact that was one of the reasons, no, that my father. But of course he would have preferred na dito kami nakatira sa Maynila.
How did you keep in touch with what was going on dito?
It
Kasi
wasn't
syempre when martial law was declared, you were abroad.
It wasn't easy. I was when martial law was declared, we had expected something dramatic to
Yes.
happen. Because marami ng beses na my dad would say that this is a real problem, we may have to do this, we may have to do that. But in general, how did we keep up? My parents would send us newspaper clippings. We would call, we would write. In my school in England, there was you had to write one letter to your parents every week.
Talaga.
So that was actually a good thing because iba yung tawag iba yung sulat. Yung sulat hinahawakan mo and you can read it again and again. And it really taught I think both sides, including my parents, the habit of writing. So they would send us the news nung nauso na yung videotape, magpapadala ng videotape. So that they would try, but inevitably pag uwi mo rito, maraming nangyari na hindi mo na namalayan. So you just have to catch up.
Medyo let's go naman dun sa lighter side. Ang first girlfriend mo ba, since you were in England, British ba siya?
Ay, naku, nung nasa England ako, wala akong panahon, hindi kami pinapalabas ng eskwelahan. They would let me out. I would be in school for, isang semester namin was 3 months. Sa 3 buwan, I would be able to sleep one night outside of school.
Yun lang.
Yun lang. And every month, I could spend one Sunday out of school. So
when you'd make ligaw, dito na.
dito na siguro sa Pilipinas. Kasi dito, doon, halos di ka, kahit yung mga restaurant, yung mga bar, di ka makapasok, yung mga nightclub. Dito, hindi masyadong stricto, kahit basta't may kasama kang may edad, they will let you in.
Do you feel na a lot of the girls were fawning over you na pinagkakaguluhan ka dahil Bongbong Marcos ka? Or do you think it's your charming personality?
I don't know. I don't know that they were fawning over me to begin with. I don't know kung bakit lahat ng tao, ang kanilang impression sa akin are that the women were fawning over me. Believe me, there were times kung I would be calling, trying to get a date, and I couldn't get a date. Why suddenly this image of women fawning all over me? But I don't know. I think yung you tell me if I'm right. Yung pagganak ng presidente, that last mga 5-10 minutes, unless may complex na talaga yung tao, yung talagang galit sa'yo dahil anak ka ng presidente, wala ka na magagawa. But karamihan naman ng mga tao, pagka nakausap mo na, after 5-10 minutes, wala na, that's over. Except for the fact that you're surrounded by
Would anybody have the guts to say na, oy, pare, galit ako sa'yo, bakit ganyan naman ang mga magulang mo? Would they dare do that to you?
Hindi naman. Meron, magkikriticize sila pero hindi yung galit ako sa'yo. Sasabihin, bakit naman ganyan? Alam mo yung tao, hindi ganyan dapat, hindi tama ang ginagawa, hindi ganyan ang tingin sa ginagawa ninyo, etc., etc. So, inevitably, that would happen. Kasi naman, if you have good friends, they will tell you what they believe to be the best. Pagka naman sa tingin nila, it's a criticism that is not merely not mischievous or naninira lang, then that's valid and you just accept it.
How would you react about the criticism hurled at your parents through the press and through the mass media?
I guess nung talagang mabigat na at saka masakit na, well, there were times, no, that especially after 86 when people were taking real liberties with the truth. And wala, nandun kami, hindi kami makasagot, wala kaming access sa mga media, wala tayong magagawa, ganun lang talaga. But yung run-of-the-mill na pangkaraniwan na criticism kung tawagin, let's say sa mga payagan, sa radyo, sa TV, Well, we have been experiencing my father's political life for a long, long time. I remember in 1963, 64, when he was Senate President, wala kaming narinig kundi oust Senate President Marcos every day. I remember that. So, we've been used to this kind of thing, no? And kahit papano, if you're in politics, there's no way around it. Wala ka namang magagawa na lahat masaya eh. Merong magkikriticize kahit ano pang gawin mo. So you just have to take it as it comes. And as I said, keep your mind open. And kung talagang it is a constructive criticism, then sige, makinig ka. But you also have to not take it all to heart. Because kung minsan, etong mga nagsasalita ng pinipintasan kayo, is not because they really believe that, dahil kalabang mo eh.
Siyempre.
Ano pa naman gagawin nila? Alam nga naman na pupuriin ka. So, it is part of their job. So, you just have to trabaho lang, ganyan lang naman talaga.
Bong, how many % of your father's ideology did you believe in? Meron ba times na sasabihin mo, hindi pa, hindi ganyan eh. Ito yung pananaw ko. Lalo na, I guess, when it came to youth affairs.
Well, I think it came after it so happened that when all this turmoil was going on here, I was in England studying one of the subjects I was studying was political science. And many times, especially when it is explained to you in a very idealistic way, as it is in school, sasabihin ko, di kung ganun, bakit yung sa amin ganito? And uuwi ako, Dad, explain mo nga sa akin ito. And we would argue. And I came around to his way of thinking. And in terms of the pure fundamental ideology of what my father was espousing, I think that still is valid even today. Of course, the time has changed and much has changed. The Philippines has changed. The Philippines have changed. You talked about, nandito ako nung pinag-uusapan ng kabataan. Ang kabataan ngayon, napakalaking iniba na kaysa sa kabataan na nakaraan.
Do you think pwede pa tayong bumalik dun sa... Could it be possible na martial law would come back to the Philippines? Could a person be as strong as your father was? Or do you think we have enough electoral safeguards ngayon at malakas na ang Senado at Kongreso na imposible nang mangyari yun ulit?
Well, speaking as an oppositionist, I don't know. I don't know na malakas na ang Kongreso at saka ang Senado because the Pangasinan Express is one term that has been used about the House about the Congress. But I think it is not how my father was able to consolidate his foundation was really the key. And if we are going to talk about martial law, ang inaasahan mo, ang sinasandalan mo diyan, ang militar.
Yes.
At kung ang militar ay hati, hindi mo magagawa ang martial law dahil pag nag-declare ka ng martial law, kalahati lang sasama sa'yo o ilan lang sasama sa'yo. Yung iba, tumututol, kakalabanin ka pa. So, it won't work. It really, many people have the impression na naging ganun yung ama ko dahil naisipan niya mag-martial law. Hindi sa ganun. Ang nangyari, inisa-isa niya yan and he had to consolidate his power, the foundations of his power. And you cannot, it is not something that you do by the stroke of a pen. It is really a political exercise by which you bring all the forces allied to you together. Na pag you declare something like martial law, I do not believe that the military is as united or has been as united since the events of 86.
But are we better off this way now? Wala tayong General Ver na strongman lang, na medyo yung power talaga is divided.
We are talking about friends of mine, so I would beg to differ. I would beg to differ about your outlook. So, but I don't know. The military should really be as one. And it is, I spent a little time in the military. And to see soldiers literally shooting each other is a very painful thing. And that is something that is to be avoided. So if we can avoid the involvement perhaps of soldiers in politics, maybe that would be something. But the way things have happened, the way the history has unfurled itself, is that I would say that the soldiers have perhaps also earned a right to be part of the political process. Now, how they will exercise that right is something that we in the Philippines will have to discuss for ourselves and decide for ourselves.
You're not talking naman about a junta.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You see, there is a an idea, especially from the Western governments, that that the civilian authorities over the military should be paramount. I agree with that. But whether or not the military should be allowed to make themselves felt as citizens is perhaps another question that we in this country, paano mo ngayon paatrasin ang RAM sa politika? Hindi na naman sasabihin, let us now suddenly declare that all military people are not allowed to involve themselves in politics. That would be crazy because you just couldn't do it.
Siyempre naman, dahil sila botante din.
Hindi lang sa ganun, nandyan na sila. Pinapag-usapan natin si Greg Hunasan kung tatakbo o hindi. Nandyan ang paano mo sasabihin?
Kung tumakbo siya, iboboto mo ba siya?
Si Greg, depende sa plataforma niya. And so far, sa pinapag-usapan, yung napapag-usapan, he is still reformist. And what he intends to do, what he has said that he would do,
Does it impress you?
it seems to jive with much of my thinking. So I would like to get into it more. I would speak to him about it. But on the face of it, I would say that perhaps we would have much in common.
Kinukyu na nila ako. But before we go to our commercial gap, I need a lighter question from Tita Swarding. Gusto ko marinig yung bong.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Tita
Chris.
Swarding.
And good evening, Bongbong Marcos, no? Kasi Bongbong, nung tumawag ako sa phone sa office ng office mo, no, sa congressman's office, para bang hanggang ngayon, binabanggit pa ang Chris at Chris sa'yo. Totoo bang nagkaroon ka ng crush kay Cris Aquino?
Aray ko naman, Diyos ko! Okay, sasagutin ni Bongbong yan. After you pause for this, please don't go away. We're back, Arnelli.
Ako na pala.
Embarrassed daw ako sa tanong nyo.
Oo.
Kalain ni Bongbong, pinafeed ko yan.
Alin ang alin? Kung nagkaroon siya ng crush sa'yo? Yung ba yun?
No, hindi, Chris.
Tita Swarding, you're so embarrassing.
Pakinggan natin.
Talaga? I'm sorry, Chris. Pero nung nakausap ko kasi yung secretary ni Bongbong sa office, lagi daw binabanggit yung Cris Aquino hanggang ngayon.
Totoo yan. Pagka lumalabas ako,
Yan.
Ito nagka-crush.
Hindi, is it because siguro may Romeo and Juliet mentality talaga ang mga
that's
Filipino?
absolutely right. Pagka lumalabas ako at nagsasalita ako before people, siyempre, at one point, mag-open forum kung minsan, or sa press conference, lalo sa kabataan, laging tinatanong, kung ikaw ba'y papasok sa larangang pelikula, papayag ka ba na leading lady mo si Chris? Yun ang mga tanong nila sa akin. So, up to now, yan napapag-usapan dahil nga dun sa nabanggit mo.
Yung nagawang Bongbong
yung
and
play.
Chris
Alam mo,
na Yes, Senorita
I have a
Preciosa.
follow-up question para kay Congressman. I understand your wife is a lawyer. What is it like to live with a lawyer wife? Does she nag? Do you argue a lot? Do
Will
you
she be
debate
like,
at the dinner table?
Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Well,
si Lisa ba has the
Lisa,
tendency?
no. Lisa is, you know Lisa.
Yes, I know
She's
her.
not at all like that. Lisa does not bring her work home. Pagka,
Is she a practicing lawyer?
yes, she is. She is practicing
Corporate
right now.
or criminal?
She was in litigation, but she's now sort of going towards corporate more and more. On a professional basis, lalo na in my work, I need legal opinion. And kung nagbabasa ko or something, and there's nobody else to ask, I need a legal opinion. I am lucky to have my wife.
So
to be
you
able
work
to-
hand in hand with
Well,
your wife?
no, we in terms of profession, because she is a professional and she's a lawyer and she's a very good one because I've worked with her. And so when it comes to lawyering, sasabihin ko, hindi naman talaga ako abogado, so tatanong ko sa
How
kanya.
active is she in politics? Does she go house to house din pag kampanya? Or
She's slowly getting into it. You know, hindi naman siya sanay sa politika. In fact, pagka sinasabihan siya na kailangan siya pupunta rito, lalabas dyan, she always says, I'd rather work quietly behind the scenes, maybe help with the arrangements and
how
all
is
that.
your mom as a mother-in-law?
Oh, she's great. She's great.
talaga?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I always tease her that she's nicer to the in-laws than she is to her actual kids. She's much stricter with the kids. With Greggy and Tommy and Lisa, she's always very supportive.
Pero sa inyo,
Well, sa amin, iba na talaga pagka-anak, magkamali ka lang, anak mo yun, you know. She says again, it's those levels of standards that my father said. I suppose it's the same kind of thing that she's trying to continue to keep uppermost in our minds, that there is a level of standard that you
how
Okay,
old is your
excuse me.
son now?
My son is 10 months. Oh,
10
10 months
months
na magwa 1
old.
year na. March na pinanganak.
So, do you think na your son will also be geared towards following in your footsteps?
I always say that my son will not be pushed, or he will be exposed to everything that goes on in the real world. But he will have a choice. And when the time comes for him to decide what his career will be, he will have a choice. He can be a musician, he can be a writer, he can be a politician, he can be anything he wants.
Speaking of
Chris,
exposure,
Chris.
sorry na, last question
sige,
ito
sige.
kasi.
Meron lang
Kasi
sana
itong-
akong gusto ipagawa eh.
Hindi,
Oo, sige,
tungkol
sige,
lang
sige,
sa
sige.
exposure kasi. Kasi di ba, ang 1986 had a profound effect on my life, as I'm sure it had a profound effect on your life. Do you think na with what happened, did it bring your family closer together? Dahil di ba, in the face of adversity talaga, sino bang nag-unite kung hindi yung magkakapamilya?
Totoo yan. At pagka sinasabi sa akin, what are the good things that happened, because of this, the exile. And sinasabi naman nila, sinasabi ko, isa sa pinakamagandang nangyari, talagang naging malapit kami mga pamilya. And
Yes.
I wasn't married yet then, but my sisters were with small children. And sinasabi nila, mas mabuti na rin in a sense that they now found the time, kasi kung hindi nangyari yun, they would be working, they'd be doing things, hindi nila nakikita yung kanilang anak. Whereas now, they are able to when we were in exile, they could spend time yung walang ginagawa.
Was it a difficult adjustment? Kasi for us, it was a very difficult adjustment because biglang walang adjustment period, di ba? Normally, when someone is elected, meron kang time for yung di ba? Like in the
Yeah.
States, from
Because-
November, January pa bago nagkaka-inauguration. So, maganda yung turning over. Ito, bigla-biglaan. Sa inyo ba, how did it feel na biglang, hello, goodbye Philippines, hello America?
It was shocking. In the pure sense, you were
Nalaman mo ba kung sino yung mga tunay na kaibigan?
Oo.
They say that's what normally happens.
Well, talagang makikita mo talaga kung
Marami
sino
ba
yung
talagang
didikit o hindi.
balimbing, Bong?
Yes.
Bakit? Sorry.
As we've mentioned, this is history in the making,
Oo.
Pero matagal-tagal
Pero
bago
yung-
maulit ito
masagot
na...
mo muna sa kanya yun, yung
Tingnan, mas
tungkol sa
maganda-
balimbing.
Yung balimbing. Oh, sige.
Oo, marami
mamaya
pa talaga.
makopa naman yung sabi mo. Sige.
Kung maraming balimbing, hindi, alam mo, ang tingin ko ganito, people are not, hindi naman masama ang tao. Meron masama talaga na hindi naman kailangan mamintas pa marami pang sinasabi. But there are people na makikita mo, that's their survival din eh.
Hinate mo ba kami?
Hindi,
Hindi,
Teka, ito na nga. Ito nga magandang
kasi I was
segue dyan.
explaining that to him.
Chris,
Kasi
Sige
before, I was telling him na I was a year and a half, tapos sabi ko, kulang na lang isipin ko meron kayong mga horn sa ulo nyo. Dahil, syempre, di ba yun ang kinalakihan ko? So, I
Sige
was
nga, sige
wondering
nga.
kung was the situation the same for them?
Well, I think, in our case, because we have, as I said, been in politics for a long time, yung mga personal na namin, hindi masyadong pumapasok yan sa hate and love. And, well, siguro sa umpisa, when unang reaction mo, sasabihin mo, bakit naman ganito? Bakit yung mga taong ganyan? But after a while, lalo na yung sa 86, nung nasa Hawaii kami, sabi mo, ganun talaga ang buhay, wala kang magagawa, just get on with it. And again, we really came to the conclusion that to cloud your mind with all of this emotion, especially when you're talking about your public life, is a dangerous thing. So, iniwasan namin yun. And with all of-
Nakakayanan nyo yun to separate it.
you have to. You just have to.
Okay, Arnelli, go.
Eto na. Naku, nakabuelo rin ako.
Sorry!
Alam mo, ibang klase ka talaga. Nag-absent ka lang ng isang Lunes eh. Nag-turbo ka na eh.
Hindi na, si
Kasi
Tito
nga-
Jo Marie nagpapa-impress.
Diba? You are very, very good. Oh. Pero Chris, alam mo, sinabi nga natin, history in the making ito na interviewin mo si Congressman Bongbong Marcos. Now, hindi na tayo siguro makakapag-antay pa ng isang beses na maulit ito. Na
Yes.
kung sakasakali, magkabaliktad ang sitwasyon na si Congressman ang may show at ikaw naman ang i-interviewin.
Interview.
Pwede
ano,
siya magka-show.
ano kaya kung baliktarin natin for a while? Congressman, is there a question in your mind na noong pa, hindi mo pa namimit si
Yes.
Chris, puro sa dyaryo lang, ano ang gusto mo itanong sa kanya? Yung mainit-init, ha?
Well, I suppose ganun
Kahit
din.
hindi political.
Kahit hindi
Oh,
political.
wag mo na political.
Ay, hindi political. Dahil hindi na wala naman sa larangan politika si Chris. So, I would... No, I would...
Yung mga nai-headline.
Yung sinabi mo parang
Oo.
A question for Cris Aquino from
Ito na,
Congressman
natatawa na
Bongbong
siya.
Marcos.
Tato na ito. Hindi, yung sinasabi mo, akalain nyo sa amin may sungay na
Oo.
and all that. How did that come about? Because we never, we were
Hindi
always...
naman ikaw siguro personally, but syempre, di ba, ang nakatatak sa utak ko, the reason my dad was in jail was because of your dad. So, tapos, ay, gano'n ka diretso daw. Hindi, totoo naman ho talaga yun. Kasi nga, I was explaining to him, I was only 18 months old when martial law was declared. So,
18 months.
18 months lang ako noon. So, syempre, ang kinalakihan ko, dumadalaw kami sa Fort Bonifacio. And tinatanong ko, bakit ganito? Bakit ganyan? And syempre, bumabalik sa daddy mo. But then, I remember, of course, na your mom was very nice to my dad nung nagka-heart attack ang daddy ko at ang mommy mo nag-facilitate na makapunta kami sa Amerika. So, hindi naman ako blinded totally na lahat ng ginawa nyo evil. Hindi naman ganon. Pero, hindi,
I once saw your dad when he came to the palace.
Yes.
Na balitaan namin I was hanging around. Si Daddy nag-iisa sa opisina niya. Sabi ko, bakit walang tao? Bakit walang bisita? Sabi, pupunta si Ninoy, mag-uusap silang dalawa. And your father arrived. And I was so surprised. Nakatago ako sa likod. As usual ko, basta't may alam kong medyo importanteng nangyayari. Like, you talk about history in the making. That was history in the making. Nakatago ako sa likod. And I was so surprised. Ang tawagan nila, Brad.
Because they were both
Hindi,
from
sa
Upsilon, di ba?
And I remember a question that my father asked. And it's, your father asked this. Sabi, Brad, bakit mo naman ako kinukulong? Bakit mo naman ako linagay sa Fort Bonifacio? Ang tanong naman ng tatay ko sa'yo, Brad, kung ikaw nasa posisyon mo, sa posisyon ko, hindi mo ba gagawin? Yun, nagtawanan silang dalawa. So I suppose they were able to see further than
Well,
that.
siguro, di ba, pagka mag-anak ka, mas matindi talaga yung
talaga.
nararamdaman mo.
Sa bagay, kung gano'n ang
Kung siguro
papagos.
if 8 months from now and you were jailed siguro, yung anak mo rin naman siguro, yun ang kalalakihan. Kung sino man yung in power at that time will also be, I guess.
Well, I suppose it's inevitable that would happen. Especially sa Philippines where the politics is taken so personally.
Yes.
Napakalaking problema natin yan dito sa Pilipinas. Dapat ang politiko hindi naman dapat pinapasukan ng personal. But
In fairness naman, I've always said, every time napapanood ko si Bongbong na napakatalino niya, napaka-articulate na, at mukha naman siyang hindi makakapatay ng tao. So, yun naman ang sinasabi, di ba? Mukha siyang mabait talaga.
Chris?
Yes.
Excuse me, no? Ang ganda kasi ng discussion na talaga sobra over my dead body. Sa totoong gusto ko lang, saludo ako sa inyong dalawa. Hinahangaan ko kayo kasi napakatalino nyo, ano? Pero kayong dalawang tatanungin ko, someday, may ambition ba kayo na tumakbong presidente?
And would you be like your father?
Aha.
In case you'll be
At
the
maglalaban pa kayong dalawa.
president? Oo.
Hindi ako,
Would the scenario be the same?
I think in my case, mas mahirap siguro because babae nga ako. And yung sa mommy ko was a very special situation. I think to this day, very, very male chauvinistic ang ating society. So mahihirapan pa ho ang mga babae. I don't know if 30 years from now, the situation will be different.
Aha.
Pero ako siguro gusto ko hong maglingkod sa mga mamamayan, but I don't think politics is my cup of tea at this moment.
Yes, what about Bongbong? Excuse mo, Bongbong.
Una, I beg to differ. Ang mga, wala nang, lalo na ngayon we'll talk again about the youth. Yung mga kabataan, yung mga chauvinistic na dating cultural impediments natin, wala na ngayon yan. And I would say that certainly, in our society, there are so many women are dominant in their societies. Sa Ilocano, talagang matriarchal society kami. And we really respect the role of a mother, wife, and the woman in
So I guess you
in our
make a very
culture.
good husband kasi di ba?
Well, I try.
Maganda yung ano niya. What
I-
about you? Yung
About
tanong
running
namin
for the
sa'yo.
presidency, I don't know.
Is it one step at a time?
No, I did
Yung
not
ano?
enter politics to become president.
You entered it for what purpose?
I entered, very specific yung akin. Doon lang nasa Hawaii kami. I remember when we arrived, they literally took everything away from us. And when we arrived, we had nothing. And ang mga tumutulong sa amin, yung mga Ilocano, alam naman natin, ang daming Ilocano doon sa Hawaii. And po, lumalapit sila, tinutulungan kami, nagluluto sila, pinapakain kami, nagkoleksyon pa para makabili ng refrigerator, kung ano-ano. So, you can imagine, this is somebody who
Mararamdaman mo talaga
Oh, yeah,
yung
yung-
pagmamahal ng mga tao.
So, ang aming iniisip, sabi, kailangan natin magpasalamatan itong mga ito. And this is how well do you serve the province? But also, I wanted to be part of the national debate. So, I
Yes.
entered, sabi ko, ideal ang Congress. At hindi ko naman iniisip ang pagka-Senado. Napapag-usapan na lang yan. So, I guess here we are now, life as a way of surprising us. And now that I'm here, but I did not go in, uunahin ko yung congressman, tapos magsisenado ko, tapos tatakbo ko bilang Pangulo. Hindi ganun ang pag-iisip ko. Ang iniisip ko lang paano makapagsilbi sa tao. And we will see if that comes, but it is not the end result. Because ang unusual sa atin dalawa, nakita natin yung pagkapangulo, hindi lang yung sa television.
Yes.
Nakikita natin kung gaano kahirap talaga yun. And 20 years
I'll ask you,
is a
napanood mo
long...
ba ang Dave?
Yes. Yeah.
Kasi kaming lahat talaga tuwan-tuwa dun sa pelikula
Oh,
ngayon.
I
Did you
remember.
feel the same way?
I felt it would have been wonderful if we could have done something like that. But
Oo.
unfortunately, hanggang sine lang yun. But it would have been nice. It would have been nice to have taken a little bit of a break.
Okay, before we close, I guess ang tatanungin ko lang si Bongbong, do you think that the name Marcos is an asset or a liability in terms of politics? Sobra bang expectations ng mga tao sa'yo?
Well, in a sense, it is a liability in that sense because kahit na sinasabi ko, no, actually wala naman akong binabalik sa you will be president in 10 years. Maraming mga ganun. And you know, you cannot say na, no, I have no intention. It's somehow disappointing to them. But that is not an essential problem. I think overall, in fact, I have not yet found a situation where it has been a liability. After all, I can come and speak to you on your show. So being a Marcos has not held me back in any way.
It's our pleasure to have you, di ba? Would you like to leave a message since nationwide napapanood tayo ngayon, lalong-lalo na siguro sa constituents mo sa
Well,
Ilocos?
lalo na ngayon na napapag-usapan natin ng mga kabataan, I would just like to...
You feel you're still part of the youth?
well, maybe I'm...
Pwede pa, di ba? Kasi under 39.
Hirap na, namimilit na. But I still feel sympathetic to what they have to face. And kung kagaya ng sabi ko, napapag-usapan ng kabataan, I would like first of all to congratulate all the delegates for the good work that they did with the Pope's visit. At ituloy ninyo yan, tuloy nyo yung pag-aktivista ninyo, tuloy nyo yung pakikialam ninyo, at kailangan kayo ng ating bansa. Do not stop, stay involved, we need you.
Thank you very much, Congressman. It was a pleasure having you. Anything from you?
May ponent question kasi yung mga taga-Pampanga, Bongbong, kung tatakbo
Yes.
ka daw talagang senator.
Mukhang sa takbo ng panahon, ganun ang patungo ng aking gagawin. Yes, it looks like I will be running for the Senate.
Congratulations in advance.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Senorita Preciosa. Okay.
no more
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank you very much
Bong.
indeed.
And- okay. Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much.
you.
Maraming salamat po. Actually, you now will be back. Thank you, Congressman.